Abigail here with the astrology of this week. This week is, well guys, it's finally here. The Venus-Jupiter conjunction. It is probably the most benefic energy of 2026. Little reminder I've been giving everyone is that a lot of the energy of 2026 and a lot of the, the Jupiter work that's been going on has been mitigating stuff. So this is a comparative good energy. And also always remember that there are other things going on in your personal chart and in the charts around you. So, these readings are general. I always encourage you and anyone else to take a look at your chart to see how it's being affected. You could have a Jupiter square, you could have it opposing something. But in general, after I gave the disclaimer, in general, this is a really, really, really beautiful moment. Jupiter is about connection and abundance and community, and especially in Cancer, and just kind of overall, almost like the giving of the land or the giving of the ocean. There's just the bounty that exists in our surroundings, in our environment, and then coming into connection with the other benefic Venus in Cancer, and Venus in Cancer is very happy. We get this beautiful moment of dreams coming true, wishes happening, things, timelines speeding up, especially because this is the last Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Cancer. I expect it to have more bang for its buck than the one that we had previously. Also, this is happening at the same degree that Jupiter stationed retrograde last year. And so there's really a full circle moment coming in with this moment. And it is something to celebrate. Obviously, we have difficult astrology actually happening around it, but in this, it's not that difficult. It's medium hard. But in this moment, we really get to fully enjoy and participate. And I'm getting the word sup, that old-fashioned term for eating and drinking. We get to sup from a bounty as well. And I do think for a lot of us, this is a turning point. I think this is a moment where a lot of things change. Do I think it's instantaneous? Not necessarily. I do think on that Tuesday, you should have your eyes peeled for something beautiful to happen. Definitely eyes peeled for the several days around it. But this is a moment in the year where we actually have something really nice. And I think it's important to celebrate those, especially in 2026 when we get them. Because this year has such dense astrology. All of those earlier shifts, we're going to have the nodes shifting into a fixed sign soon. And so I encourage you to look at what house this is in your chart to see if it's conjunct or aspecting anything. I would also suggest looking up your asteroids, the asteroid goddesses, Juno, Ceres, Vesta, and Pallas Athena, as well, as those can be important points and part of fortune and part of spirit, because those have beautiful, maybe less bombastic, but can have really beautiful effects on the chart. And an element like an energy like this really works well with those energies. So yeah, I mean, you could also look up, the Eros and I can't remember is it the part of Eros? I don't know. My brain's a little higgledy-piggledy. I'm recording this late. But take a look, and if it's not aspecting something, find something. It's basically what I'm saying. And even if it's not, look at the house, look at the ruler of the house to see how this will affect you. This is also not a bad time to get a reading if you want some insight, to be honest. But it is an overall beautiful moment. It's a beautiful moment for relationships. It's a beautiful moment for luck and abundance. Depending on where it falls in your house, it can really be related to career. It can be related to money. So really enjoy this Tuesday, the 9th, and really sit with it and marinate in it and celebrate it for the beautiful moment that it is. We will also have a Cancer new moon, not at 25, but at 22 degrees, I believe, on the 13th. And so this is kind of a benefic period, and I encourage you to take advantage. If you want to put yourself out there as a single person, if you want to, if you have a client base, if you want to pull in more clients, this is the time to really push your output in order to get a lot of feedback. If you need people to leave reviews, this is a great time to ask for reviews. This is also a good time, I personally think, to just kind of put stuff out there and see what works, because Jupiter will definitely be like sprinkling money and abundance on the things that you are putting out into the world, especially when it comes to your connections with other people. So keep that in mind. On this day, we do, however, have a Mercury Saturn square. So there is a bit of constraint on this day, but it's more around communication. It's more around, our restrictions when it comes to how much we can and cannot communicate. Also because of where those two planets are, Mercury in Cancer, Saturn in Aries. Saturn in Aries demands, some kind of physical, like secure, like Aries wants what am I looking for? It's tactile. Aries wants something to hold on to. Aries wants something to like get into in a chaotic way. And Cancer is like metaphors and allegories and obscure, beautiful ideas. And so with this square, there is kind of a push and pull between wanting something tactile and something to get into and needing to sit with this more poetic, lyrical form of communication. Now, the bright side to that is you can actually get okay with the discomfort and really sit with the limitations around certain forms of communication. You can also sit with, like, if you are someone who's on social media or someone who relies greatly on communication. I mean, everyone does, but if like what you do is very front facing or it requires like public support, you can also think about how you want to maybe shift and move going forward to gain more of those things. You can look at the ways in which maybe you're blocking yourself when it comes to those things. Like maybe there are places where you're maybe doing things a little too quickly, or you're, not taking your time on something, and it's funny because I say that and then I'm also like, but also you should just be silly, goofy, and throw stuff out there. So it's a balance between like hyper communication and everything needing to be right away, and also allowing energy to just flow and move and settle and listening. And it's basically finding your way through this square. That quote that goes around a lot online is like, when life, when I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, I become water. That's very Saturn Aries and, a Pisces Mercury. You have to learn to flow with this energy, to recognize where you are maybe limiting yourself, but also understanding that sometimes we are just the way we are and we need to be the way we are. Maybe we need to be emotionally obscure and talk in riddles. But it comes with the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, so I would say maybe on the day, because these both happen around the same time, on the day, maybe not expecting to have a super clear idea of what the benefic thing is, unless you have something supportive in your chart. But as things kind of roll out, being like, oh, so that's what that was, where, there's a little more understanding as we separate, which happens naturally, but especially with the Mercury Saturn square, you're gonna be like, why aren't things working? Why is my internet slow? It also might be an implication that, something that would be, for me at least, a very Mercury square Saturn is like your like phone storage not having enough room, and you being like, to go in and delete thoughtfully, or to just go in and mass delete not thoughtfully. Make sure that you keep what is valuable. That's what I'm saying. But there will be an impulse to kind of rush things and to make things faster when we should take our time a little bit. But like I said, there's also the converse, is that with Saturn and Aries, you can start to do things too slowly and you can overthink things. And so this isn't about right or wrong. This is about finding a middle road that works for you in your unique situation. And I think if you focus on what is unique to you, that will also harness the Venus-Jupiter conjunction to you to get the very unique stuff that you're manifesting and desiring. And like I said, it's not going to be like a treasure chest dumped in front of you. It might be for some people. These things do happen with astrology, but if you have a tense chart like me, it's more likely to be you start to see things moving. The universe sends you a sign. You get a little thumbs up that's like, yes, keep going. We're giving you more stuff. And I think over the next 6 months, into 2027, we're going to see this blossom and unfold, especially as we get all of the other planets kind of shuffling through this degree. So the sun, that new moon at 22 degrees, Mercury is going to hit that point at 25 degrees, Mars will come through. We will start to see, as they hit that point, different points of abundance coming in. And yes, this is for me as well. We have to learn to be patient. Unless we have one of those wacky charts where stuff just pops out of the ether, which I don't have. But if you do have it, I'm guessing there's other frustrations that come with those charts. Most of my clients do not have that type of chart. But then on Friday, we have Venus square Chiron. It is tense. Also a reminder that Chiron is at 29 degrees. Venus will be at 29 degrees of Cancer. It feels like our little goodbye to Chiron, our farewell, our, kind of a sweet goodbye to this rather long stint we had in Aries with Chiron, with learning to stand up for ourselves. I think a lot of us with this Chiron Aries transit have lost a lot of people, maybe not to death necessarily, but to to disagreements, to their inability to meet us where we're at, and vice versa. And so this square here, I think a lot of nostalgia memories are going to come up of the people we're not connected to. I also think for some of us, this is going to bring people back around who disappeared on us or who we had to set firm boundaries with. And we may or may not want to connect to these people. And it's an opportunity to sit with what you were going to do with the person that you are now, not with the person who made those decisions previously. Can you let them back in a more boundaried way? Do you not want to ever have anything to do with them again? These are questions that are going to come up, even if it's not them showing up, it's you having them brought back to mind and having to sit with the decisions you made under this Chiron Aries. Now, remember that Chiron will then retrograde back into Aries later this year, so it's not the final time that we will have multiple connections with Chiron at 29 degrees. But it is a poignant one, and I think there will be a lot of grief, but I also encourage you to look at the ways in which you can celebrate, the ways that you stood up for yourself, the ways that you didn't give up parts of who you were in order to fit in with other people, in order to be accepted, to be embraced by people who just continually refuse to see you as you are and who take your autonomous decisions as like personal choices that you're doing to piss them off. And I mean, between you and me, girlfriend, and that's a gender neutral term, it wasn't, none of your choices were meant to piss them off. They just don't like you having autonomy. And that's the unfortunate thing. Also, if you don't have like people from your past, you're going to get basically little doppelgangers of them showing up and pushing your boundaries, whether it is someone in public or someone online. There is this element of coming up against relationships and our trauma and our pain. We also might be triggered by someone advocating for something that really hurt us at some point, that really caused harm, that really destroyed our sense of self. I just realized like halfway through this video that I didn't put my microphone on, so we're actually going to do that in real time. Welcome to I'm gonna clip that baby on. You get a partially non-microphone recording. I mean, the phone recording I guess is okay sometimes, but it's also very Mercury square Saturn that I forgot this. And I find that when I do these videos, and welcome to my ADHD rabbit trail, when I do these videos, oftentimes the way the recording goes really exemplifies the week I'm talking about, which I find funny. It is also very mercurial of me as a Virgo rising. So just know that there is tenderness, sensitivity. On Friday, there's a feeling of being pushed, our boundaries being pushed, or maybe, and I think for some of us, something that we hadn't really considered in a long time is going to resurface, and we're going to have to like ask ourselves if that was the right choice. My personal kind of perspective is that you're going to reconfirm that it's the right choice, but you do have to sit with, was that the decision that I wanted to make? Was that the thing that I should have done? Did I do more harm than good? And those are mental gymnastics we have to go through in order to process this moment. I think from what I'm talking to clients and my own personal experience, a lot of the stuff I did in the Aries Chiron cycle was because I was pushed to a point where I had no other options. And
the kind of going back and doing these mental gymnastics is to confirm. I don't know if mental gymnastics is what I want to use, but basically having to like stretch ourselves all over the place to see if there was something that we could have done better. To reconfirm that no, there was in fact nothing we could have done because it wasn't about what we were doing, it was about someone else's feelings. And that's on them. So know that it's Sensi. Then, of course, because it's 29 degrees on Saturday, we get Venus going into Leo. Now, Venus and Leo, spicy fun. Pluto in Aquarius opposing Leo. Secrets, traumas, um, ancestral patterns coming to the surface, collective patterns coming to the surface. I also think we're going to be really, as a culture and a society across the globe, depending on your culture and society, there's going to be a really, well, this just came through, breaking news. We're going to see a lot of visibility around really horrific stories around femicide, for sure. And we're also going to see people pushing back in our own personal lives. I think we're going to see some people flake out on us. But I do also think it's an opportunity to continue to value ourselves. And I always find it interesting when like astrology kind of follows up on itself. It's very much feels like a follow up from Venus, the Venus Chiron moment that we had there. And so in this moment with Venus going to Leo, I do think once we separate from, depending on where it is in your chart, caveat, when it separates from its opposition to Pluto, I do think things get more fun and flirtatious and playful, but that initial entrance is going to feel a bit dark. That initial entrance is going to remind us of our own isolation in society, the places in our lives, whether we are single, partnered, or whatever, where or have family or don't have family, where our needs are not being met relationally, where we are not able to shine because of others. And it is going to be tough and it's not going to feel fun for sure. But I do think as we move through the Venus and Leo cycle, I do think we are going to find joy and find play and find fun. I also think this Venus Leo cycle is going to be unveiling some of the stuff that Jupiter is going to be unveiling. So keep an eye peeled because this is going to give us, I think, a bit of a tint as to what Jupiter is going to be doing in the sign because they're both benefics and they do share some traits, different subjects but similar vibes. So it's kind of a good indicator of what that Jupiter, not so relationship heavy, but what that Jupiter Pluto opposition is going to feel like. So be prepared. Also check and see if you have any planets getting pinged off in this moment. I know I do. And it's going into my 12th. Yay. Then on June 14th, Sunday, we get the Gemini new moon. This is an interesting one. It's not heavily aspected. The only aspect that we have, which is just within the 5-degree range, is Chiron. I think this is a beautiful opportunity for anything goes. Will there be a little bit of having to recognize our needs and the accommodations that we have to make for ourselves based on past trauma? Yes. I think that is going to be the case. But instead of seeing it as a limitation, instead of seeing it as a failure, we see it as this is an opportunity to see it as growth, to see it as self-care, to see it as self-love. That you can see yourself in the place that you're in. You can see others in the place where they are struggling and you can recognize that they need support. That you can recognize that we don't have to just bulldoze our way through life, that we can accommodate our emotions, we can accommodate our needs, we can accommodate the way that we connect to others and to ourselves. And that can be really beautiful. Because it's not super aspected, it does definitely feels like, besides the Chiron thing, it's an anything goes moment. Like, dig in, have fun, be playful, maybe do some spell work you've never done before, maybe dabble in something. But this is a very like high energy new moon that feels really just getting like I'm seeing energy crackles, like when like electricity arcs, that's what I'm seeing. This is a really highly vibrational new moon, And so to have the Venus Jupiter conjunction at the beginning of the week and then having this at the end of the week, it really does feel like the possibilities are limitless. And the only thing we really have to pay attention to is manifesting things that actually support our growth, that are actually aligned with who we are, and that take into consideration our past experiences and the way that they have shaped us. Not viewing them as limitations necessarily, which they definitely can be, and I don't want to minimize that, but also viewing them as it's kind of Mercury square Saturn, viewing them as those limitations are guidelines for what is best for us as the person that we are now, and to manifest through a channel that is aligned with our desires and our needs as a person, rather than maybe what the world wants, what we thought we wanted 10 years ago, or what we desired when we were younger and didn't quite understand our place in the world. And so I'll do a longer video on it, but despite the stuff that in the middle of the week that feels a little, callbacks to not such fun times, this Gemini new moon is also screaming new people coming in, new connections, new communities. The Jupiter Venus conjunction is like meeting people that are really important in our life, connecting, finding love, love of all kinds, platonic, romantic. Also, I think coming back into alignment with people that maybe we've lost connection with, or maybe we've kind of separated with for a minute, is a possibility in here. But the main thread through this whole thing, and I can see a red thread going through the cosmos in my mind's eye, is you, because you are the person who is in the center of your own life. Is that all of this, the only thing that you need to focus on is this in alignment for me? Does this feel right for me? And obviously we're in to help and assist other people with their things, but everyone has to, be the container for me, for them, for themselves. And so in this moment, it's not about right or wrong, but it's about what works best for you now. What feels aligned for you now, not something in the past, not something in the future. What do you want in this moment? And how do you want to manifest that? And I said this in another reading today. I think it was one of the pick a pile readings, is like, obviously life can be hard and difficult, but if the path to the thing that you want is struggle and pain and difficulty and trauma, do you necessarily want the thing that caused all of that at the end? That was and some people do, we see people all the time with really intense stories who get fame or something. But I do wonder if that is the best path if you are looking for happiness and fulfillment in a more kind of gentle way rather than kind of a bombastic life. Like if you want to simply live well, maybe the best path is the path that is most aligned, is the path that where you are respected, is the path where you are loved, is the path where you get to stand up for yourself, and don't have to put up with abuse, don't have to put up with constantly having to prove yourself all the time. So, yeah. But I am excited for this week. Next week is pretty spicy too. Some interesting trines and sextiles. We have the Venus Pluto opposition, so like stay tuned. I do think with this Venus Pluto opposition though, while there are difficult aspects, and this aligns with this week because Venus is moving into Leo, I do think there are some revelations, and it is an opportunity to connect more deeply with the way that we connect to others and connect to communities. And it's an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Will painful things be revealed? Yes. Will people be lying? Probably. But it is an opportunity to learn about yourself. And anytime a planet is in Leo, it is an opportunity to learn more about the self, to learn more about your heart, to learn more about your desires, to learn more about your intention. And Jupiter will be going there soon as well. So I think there's a lot of, if you don't lean into as much into the Delulu side of Leo, but focus on what is tangible emotionally. And when it comes to knowledge, there's a lot that can be learned from Leo transits, and I encourage us to dig into that as well, especially coming off of this Venus Jupiter conjunction, where I think a lot will be revealed about a lot of things. Anyways, my loves, this is my reading for this week. I have plenty of other readings online. You can get tarot readings, you can look at my wax readings, they are all free. Also, you can comment on this video. It would be nice if you did. It helps with engagement. I also just love to hear from people. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me here. You can go find me over on Instagram. But yeah, and you can also book readings with me online. I just updated my pricing schedule to hopefully make things a little more accessible. It's always a struggle between being paid what I'm worth and wanting people to be able to access the things that they need when they need them. But that is what I have for you. I wish you a blessed Venus Jupiter conjunction. Let me know how it goes, and I will see you all later.